much for subscribing and tuning in to my channel. And again, this is For the Love of Money. I did a video last week and I was sick as a dog. I could barely talk. I was really congested and just a whole lot of everything going on. But I did force myself to find the strength to complete another video, because every time I do one of these videos, it just kind of take me back down memory lane of everything that took place with my sister Monica. And I'm like, dang it, it's so much that happened. And then I always think to myself, you got a long ways to go. And I mean, I really do, because it was just so much that took place. But I promise I'm going to stay on track tonight. I'm going to continue to go forward with this story and continue to share, this information in hopes of it helping someone pay attention to signs, even if it's a loved one, if it's actually yourself or a friend, hopefully some of this information that I'm speaking up on, it actually can help, save someone's life. Okay, but moving forward, the last video I posted, I left off where we were about to have my sister transferred over to the rehabilitation location. And this was because she had already had her surgery. They couldn't remove the tumor from around her spine. So she was in a situation of, she was pregnant. They didn't see the need to induce her labor, and they wanted the baby to continue to grow. So they recommended that, yeah, we'll get you over to the rehabilitation center. And once we get there, we'll help you cope with the situation at hand, right now, which means that she was paralyzed, and, they didn't know if it was a permanent situation, because they didn't know how long it would be before they can actually start to treat her. But they couldn't treat her for the things that was needed because she was pregnant. So that's, that was the situation. But I left that day. I headed back to Texas. And like I said, she told me, I hate to see you go. And I communicated with my mom and my brother-in-law, and, just tried to stay in the loop and make sure that I kept a clear head to kind of do some research and figure out, maybe I can find something that these doctors, haven't found. Maybe I know something that they don't know. I looked up a lot of stuff, and like I said, we became detectives pretty much. Me, Cam, my brother-in-law, we took information that, the doctors were saying and tried to do whatever we could to figure out, is this really the right information that they're giving us? Is there any other things that could possibly be done and they just haven't told us? It was like one of those situations. But I continued to speak to my mom, and she would begin to just update me on how my sister was doing. And at this point, I was questioning everything, because I knew that some of the things that probably took place earlier that we didn't recognize as signs were really clearly signs. But, I was just on alert for any information that she gave to me. I remember one day I was talking to my mom, and, once they got over to the rehabilitation center, they had a routine where they would have to go, and she would have to go do certain exercises and, speak to the counselors, and they just talk to her to try to, prepare her for what she would be facing when all this would be over. And I remember talking to my mom, and one day they were playing cards, because my sister, she liked to play cards. She liked to play spades. And, even if it wasn't 4 people, she didn't care. She just liked to play spades. And that's something that her and my mom did every night. So I remember speaking to her one day, and my mom was like, it's just not fun anymore playing cards with her. And I was like, why? Why do you say that? She said, well, she seems to, she falls asleep, and she seems to forget stuff, and it's just not fun. So for a moment I was like, is my mama upset because because my sister is beating her in cars? Like, I didn't really get it. But again, I was trying to just process all information that was being shared, because I felt like, those were some of the things that we were missing in the beginning. So when she said that, I thought about it. And I said, well, wait a minute. I said, so you said she falls asleep in the middle of playing cards? She said, yeah, she just falls asleep. And I said, you said that she forget? She said, yeah, she forgets. She's holding the cards and she's acting like she's about to play, but she don't play. And then she'll just keep saying some of the same stuff over and over. She was like, it's just not fun. This is my mom talking, and she wasn't thinking when she was talking. She just was talking because, she was the one there with her. But none of it sounded right to me. Another thing that began to happen was my sister would stay thirsty. And they had to actually put her on a restriction where she couldn't drink a lot of liquid, water or anything. Soda, like she could not, they had to monitor how much intake that she had. That was confusing to me, because in my mind I was like, well, how would a doctor have a pregnant person in a situation to where you can't continue to drink water and you got a baby? None of it was making sense. But again, I was getting all this information over the phone. So I would share this information with Cam, and we'd be putting our heads together, because again, we trying to be one step ahead of the game, trying to figure all this stuff out. And then I know Cam, she kind of know a lot of things when it comes to things, when symptoms and things of this nature. So it was kind of easy to relay some things to her. So we kind of bounced ideas off each other, and try to listen to some of the things that we may have left off, and just pick up the pieces. And we did this like every day, multiple times a day. And I remember Cam, she said, why would she be so thirsty? And she said, because maybe you think she diabetic? And I said, well, I don't know. I said, because she's in the hospital. I said, and she's pregnant. I said, wouldn't they check to see if she diabetic? She said, well, it sounds like she's diabetic to me. Cam, she knows, she's diabetic. So she's like, yeah. She said, we need to figure this out. She said, we got to ask these doctors what's going on. And I said, okay, yeah, you're right. So I asked my mom, I said, what? I said, is she diabetic? And my mom said, no, she's not diabetic. I said, well, why is she so thirsty? So we continued to, everything became questionable, at this point. And I'm writing all this stuff down, because I began to get upset, because, when you are at a distance, you can't communicate the way you would want to, especially when you're trying to communicate to someone over a phone, or someone that's in the professional field is busy, and you can't really ask all the questions that you want to ask. But I know that the stuff my mom was saying to me, it wasn't normal. And I remember that when I left, I heard the doctor say, pay attention to the signs, pay attention to things that becomes different. Pay attention to change. So I'm like, everything's changing at this point. And my mom just continued to talk about, she said she continues to ask me for something to drink, and it upsets me, because I know that I don't supposed to do it, and I can't do it. And I tell her that I can't, and she continues to ask for something to drink. I was really, really puzzled. So I began to question my mom. And I think that kind of, upset her. Not question her as if, she didn't know what to look for, but just question her, of drilling her with a lot of questions, because I wanted to know. And, she began to say, the things you ask, and I never think to ask those questions when these doctors are here. She said, you just need to come here. You need to be here so you can ask those questions. And, I was telling her, I said, but I'm not there right now. So because I'm not there, I need you to ask the questions. And, I could tell that it was kind of upsetting to her. But I had the same conversation, with my brother-in-law too. He asked a lot of questions. But, I had a lot of questions I wanted to ask, and I wasn't there, and they were there. So another thing my mom told me was, she said, you know, she gets so thirsty and she'll just ask people when we're in the game room, you know, like at the setting where they had the tables and they were playing cards and things. And you know, she said my sister would just ask the nurses or whomever passed by, hey, you know, can you let me borrow some money to get me something to drink? Like, you know, she wanted something to drink out of the machine. My sister, she don't do that. And that was like concerning. So I continued to ask my mom, I'm like, explain to me, what is she saying? She's like, it doesn't matter. Whoever she can ask to get her something to drink, she wants something to drink. And she was like, you know, it bothers me. I said, I asked my mom, I said, what kind of medication is she on? I said, you know, maybe it's the medication. Maybe something is causing her to be thirsty with whatever they're giving her. Then I started thinking about her falling asleep. I said, well, maybe she's just drowsy. You know, something has to be causing her to do these things. And we didn't know what it was, and I didn't understand it, and it bothered me. So I told my mom, I said, the next time the nurses come into the room, I said, don't let them show you like medicine that they're giving her. I said, let them show you on the screen the names of it. I said, I want all the names of the medications that she's taking. I said, and I need for you to ask those nurses, what type of tests are they running? You know, because I would ask my mom, like, what's her blood pressure? Have they checked her iron? Is her iron low? Like, you know, all those things I was asking her. She didn't really know the answers to them. But she said, you know, we can get it. We should know because it's in the system. So I remember later that night I called her back and I told her, I said, did the doctors come in the room? She said, well, when we go back, we haven't went back to the room yet. She said, but when we go back, you know, they're coming to the room because they have to come and see her tonight. And they were giving her pain medication because they said the things they were giving her was okay because she was pregnant and it was fine. It wouldn't cause harm to the baby, but it would ease the pain because, you know, again, remember, she had surgery and she was in a lot of pain. So they had to do something to try to help her, you know, with some of the pain, you know, as much as they could. I remember my mom, when I asked to speak to one of the nurses, she said, well, why don't you just call the front desk? And I wouldn't do it because I know when you call the front desk or when you're calling a facility or a location, people can put you on hold and then they can hang up, or people can let the phone ring and they don't answer. And it was getting to the point to where I needed answers and I wanted to know, you know, more details of what was going on. So I told my mom, I said, walk to the front desk. And she said, for what? I said, because I need to talk to the people at the front desk. And she said, well, you got to call the front desk. I said, no. I said, go to the front desk and give them your phone. I need you to put your phone to the person's ear so I can speak to them. Because in my mind, I was thinking, they can't hang up on me with her phone because it's her phone. And she's right there. So, you know, it was just, my mind was just racing. Like, it was really, really racing. And I talked to the lady and I told her who I was and my concerns and the things I wanted to see, the medication she was taking. And, you know, she directed me to who I needed to speak to. She gave me the name and the time, you know, that the doctor would be there in the room. And moving forward, that was my whole agenda. I said I wasn't calling any hospital phones. I wasn't calling the front desk. I wasn't calling the room. Whomever had a cell phone with them that was, you know, they're in my family, I needed them to just put the phone up to the doctor's ear and let me talk to them from the phone. I didn't want to call the facility because I felt like they was giving us the runaround. You know, these things, every night when I talked to my mom, it was the same old thing. And she kept telling me, same story. She's just so tired. And, you know, and they keep wanting her to go to those classes in the morning. And she can't do those exercises. She'll try to stand up and do it, but she's just so tired. She's weak. and she don't feel like doing it. Again, like it just wasn't registering to me what was going on. So, my mom told me, she said that, she has an appointment coming up soon at the hospital. Because, in my mind, I could still never focus or get my mind to focus on the fact that how would a doctor allow a pregnant woman, which you're a high-risk pregnant woman, based on all the things that's going on, how would they allow you to go to the rehabilitation place where you really don't have the proper doctors there monitoring you? You just have people that's there that, do some type of therapy and things of that nature. And that's not good. And I just felt like no one cared about her at this point, is what I felt. Because the right decisions, they weren't being made. And in this situation, you had to really be there and you had to be focused on what was going on. I remember before I left and when she was in the room, these two doctors, y'all, I tell you, she had like 30 doctors. She had so many different doctors assigned to each team. You had the residents, you had the specialists, you had the doctor, you had the OBGYN team, you had pathologists, neurologists. I mean, you had all these different doctors. And I had to write their names down to figure out and keep up with who they were so I could make sure I asked the proper questions. Again, at this time, I had family members calling me, because they were concerned. They wanted to know what was going on. And, I honestly think, well, I don't think I know. I know I probably upset a whole lot of people. But unfortunately, when you're in this type of situation, you cannot turn away. You can't stop focusing on what's going on because, that room, the door is continuing to open. Different doctors are continuing to come in. Different people are coming to draw blood. Different people are coming to give medication. You got to be alert to make sure they even know what they're doing because these people don't even read charts. They just come into the room and start trying to do what it is that they specialize in and what they do, with not even knowing what the other doctors have done or the situation. I remember two people from the specialist team from the therapy place. They didn't read her charts. They came in the room and they immediately started trying to pick her up out of the bed. And I remember turning to them and I said, "Hey," I said, "what are y'all doing?" And they said, "We're taking her for a walk." And I looked and I said, "Well, you know what?" I said, "That would be great if she could get up and walk." I said, "Because she can't walk." I said, "She's paralyzed. She just had surgery." They said, And in my mind, I didn't understand how they didn't know that. So, it was those type of situations to where if no one was right there paying attention every time those doctors came in, they began to take her for a walk. And her being in and out of it on all this different medication, she didn't know what was going on and she wasn't able to respond fast enough to explain her situation. But again, those things continue to happen. I made arrangements so that I can hurry and get to the facility to relieve my mom because the plan was for my sister to be there for 2 weeks. And my mom had been there. My brother-in-law had been there running around crazy, going back and forth to, Memphis, back to Little Rock, just driving. He going back and forth. My nephew, taking my nephew back and forth. Like, it was a lot. And there was a lot of pressure, a lot of stress for everybody. But there were so many different things that needed to be done. And I just knew that I had to get back based on the information that my mom shared with me. So, when she was telling me those things, she told me she had an appointment coming up to check on the baby. She had to go see the OBGYN. I just told her, keep me updated. She had 2 appointments that week. I knew I was coming in the following week. The following day after her last appointment. And I wanted to know, why didn't the OBGYN doctors even feel as if, like, she's high risk? Like, why is she at this rehabilitation place? No one's monitoring her. No one's checking her heart rate. No one's checking all this stuff on a consistent basis. In my opinion, of a woman that's been through what she's been through and a woman that's currently pregnant. it was a problem for me. I didn't understand it. But that's kind of where I want to leave off, because when I made my arrangements and got ready to head back, she had spent about a week or so there already at that time. But to me, it was getting worse. It wasn't getting better. My mom wasn't giving me any good updates. Only thing was she had kind of started eating more, but as far as the things that was going on with her memory and her, being real thirsty and all these things, I needed to get there to figure out and ask all these doctors, like, why is this happening? Because it's not normal. So that's what I did. I made my arrangements and I, hurried and got back to her just like I promised her I did, when I left. And she told me that she hated to see me go. And when I got back, I was excited because I was wanting to give my mom a break. The facility she was at, it was kind of like it was a facility where she had her own special room. So she had her bed, I had my bed. It was enough space for us to kind of just chill. And in my opinion, we were having like girls' night in. I wanted to kind of monitor her for myself and see what had changed, since I saw her last time. And that's what I did. So thank you all so much for joining me, and stay tuned. I'll be making another video really, really soon. And I want to just kind of catch you guys up so I can get a lot of things in, because there's still so much to say. But thank you so much for tuning in and joining me on For the Love of Money. And thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. And please share this video so that we can, allow other people to pay attention to some of the signs that that I'm going to be mentioning in the rest of these clips and the previous clips. But thanks for joining. Peace.